Hi there. Welcome to the Single Dads Network. This is Single Dads Unplugged, and this is your host, Tembisa Pakati, and we are all about building bonds, breaking stereotypes. This is a special edition. Why? Because this is a special weekend for dads and fathers, and we are recording special shoots because we want to celebrate fathers throughout the continent and throughout the world, particularly dads that are within our community, within the Single Dads Network. I would like to introduce my guest today, Thuto Lephoto, and I would like you to introduce yourself, maybe give us a background about the work that you do, particularly around parenting.
Well, as we've said, my name is Thuto Lephoto. I've been following parenting,
Sure.
more about parenting and more about helping families groom their children better, because it all began with me, myself. I was brought up by my grandmother. My mom is a single parent at the same time.
Sure.
So many things that when I grew up, I discovered that I could have done better with my life had I had a father figure in my life at the time. So that gave me that inspiration to start wanting to, understand more of what we can do so that parenting can become better for our children. So my passion comes from there. I do parent coaching, I do youth coaching, and I specialize more specifically with boys. Not that we are shutting out the girls. We do also have programs that speak to them, but we are more worried about the boy child because we see the damage the boy child can cause if the boy child is not properly given foundations that will necessitate them to grow better. You talk about the foundations, and I've been following you on your channel, and you've got specific programs dedicated for boys. Why is parenting for a boy child, especially from the father side, so important? Look, the biggest problem we have in society today, we cannot shy away from the reality that the biggest problem we have is with boys, is with men in society at large. Most of the problems, even if you go to prisons, you would find that in terms of percentage, and then you would find that it's more men that are in prison. It's more men who are involved in all this shady activity. So looking at a boy child, we are trying to probably eliminate these side effects that we see when people have grown up into age and they start doing things that are out of line. So dealing with a boy child is not just by choice that we just want to deal with the boy child. It's not incidental at all, but it's looking at things that boy child amount to when they grow into age. I would like to first start with the role modeling and the conditioning of a boy's life. Why is male role modeling so important to a boy child? This is what I always say to parents. As you know, I get parents who come bring their children to me every day for coaching, and this is what I specifically say to them. I say, as a parent, it is important to understand that your children do more what you do than what you say. I like that. It's modeling begins from there. Because many parents would say, I've told him he must not do this. But the question is, after you've told him, have you modeled it before them for them to be able to see what you say in action? Exactly. So modeling is critically important because it is a reality that even our children, they copy us more what we do than what we say, than what we preach. So modeling is important in that regard, that whatever that we wish to groom them to become, whatever we wish to instill in them in terms of values and principles, they grasp it more better when we model it before them than when we tell them. It makes sense because we want to walk that preaching, the preaching that we say to our kids. We need to live in the way we live our lives as dads. When I met you the first time, we spoke a little bit about the ills that we see in society, starting in the homes. I even said to you, I shared a piece of statistics around that was done by the University of Stellenbosch around
fatherlessness, and I said 90% of the kids we see in the streets are from fatherless homes, and that's shocking. Would you say the structure of our homes gives rise to what we see in society, especially for a boy child?
Absolutely. Look, there are so many things and factors that give play to this.
Yeah.
We can look at the political spheres, we can look at the economic conditions as well, all those things and the backgrounds that we're coming from. All of those things have got a very big role they play into this. I mean, when I say into this, I'm talking about finding ourselves growing up in broken homes. I will call it broken homes because it will be homes where the dad is not there and it's only the mother. And this mother has got more than one child to take care of, and they've got more than one child to teach, to parent. They've got more than one child to feed,
to nurture,
and all that. So at the end of the day, we find this woman being overwhelmed, and that's where then the breakage starts. Because now this woman can no longer afford, within her means and abilities, to cater for all the needs.
It's just too much.
It's just too much.
It's overwhelming for them.
We were
actually talking at the SABC interview this morning about the same thing, that why is it that society believes that men are not inherently able to nurture and raise kids? Is it stigma? Is it stereotypical? Or and if it's stereotypical, how do we demystify that stigma and start almost breaking that cycle and creating awareness that actually dads or men can raise and nurture kids on themselves or by themselves? Look,
this is one analogy I love using. I always say, you know, the Bible says the man is the head.
Yes.
Right. And if you look at you as an individual, whatever that you do starts from your head.
Sure.
Your hand will never do what your mind didn't tell it to do.
Exactly.
So there is no such a thing that man cannot nurture. If man has been appointed by God to be a head, it means a man can nurture.
Absolutely.
It's just that we don't step up and take our role to nurture. And I think it's because of the background we're coming from. Because the background says the woman must take care of the house. So when that statement comes in, the house includes the children inside. And then the man disconnects from his major role of nurturing, because the man himself must also nurture. As much as the woman must take care of the house with the children inside, but the nurturing part, the seed of nurturing is in the man.
What are the basics around building those emotional connections between dads and kids, particularly during that tender age of, say, 3 to 10 or 3 to 15? Because I think that that's a critical age where you have to build bonds. Because eventually, when the kids are big, to try and catch up and create those emotional bonds is a struggle, I would imagine. And why is it critical at that age? And how do practical steps that you would take to build those emotional relationships?
It's very important. First of all, it's very important for dads to be there.
Definitely.
It's important for dads to make sure that in their schedule, in whatever that they have plans for, they need to plan time for the kids.
For the kids.
That's where we lose it at first. Many dads, I'm sure you've come across many dads who are struggling with that, that parenting comes by accident to them. They only do it haphazardly. It's not a primary plan or a primary role that they actually set themselves out to do. So it comes. So whenever they have time to be at home, then for them that's parenting, because they're at home, they can play with their kids. Some can play, some can talk to them. But if you look at that, that's actually not what. So what is important is for us to, as dads, let's make time. Let's prioritize time intentionally. I want to be specific. It has to be intentional. It has to be done
deliberate.
Because every other thing that you are mentioning has to be done within that time. So if that time is not created, it's impossible for us to even start by thinking about issues of communication, issues of relating with our children. How are you going to relate and even learn to communicate, or how what kind of communication has to take place between you and your child if that time is not created. So the most important thing that I think dads need to start looking at is intentionally creating space and time for their children.
Someone was saying at my show the other day that, oh no, you dads are hot and cold. You come to the kids when you feel like it, and sometimes you make promises that you never keep, and hence women will run away with the kids and try and protect their kids from that humiliation and mistrust. What would you say to dads that are like that? That basically are not consistent in the way they relate to their kids. They come when they feel like, and then they disappear for another 3-4 months. What message would you give them in terms of consistency?
One of the things I always say to parents when they bring their children, and because most of the time, this is a situation with many times when parents bring their kids to me, they are always, there's this statement, for me, I always recite it back to them. I always ask them, why you bring this child here? And they're like, this child is a problem. There's no parent who never says the child is not a problem.
They never look at themselves.
So that's where I want us to start with this thing.
Okay.
For the dads who are in that situation where they are on and off with their children in terms of parenting, in terms of being there for their children, it's important to start looking at yourself. At times it's important to look at yourself as a parent and say, if I was this child at this present moment in time, how would I want my dad to treat me? What kind of benefits, not tangible or physical benefits, but what kind of emotional and mental benefits I would want to receive or even extract from my dad. What kind of knowledge, what kind of relationship, what kind of connection would I want to have with my dad? So parents and dads need to start asking those, turn the arrow back to yourself and say, what would I want?
Take accountability.
Look at your children that you're not giving time to. Look at your children that probably you are on and off with, and say, what is it, if I was this child right now, what is it that I would want to benefit?
And again, it's that deliberateness about taking action and stay with it. One of your videos that I've watched, which I really like, and I think I've shared it on our platform as well, is where you talk about the things, the reinforcement and the messages that you have to say to your kids consistently every day, like, I love you, how was your day, we are in this together. Talk to us about that. Why is that such a powerful thing to have those affirmations and reinforcements on a daily basis with your kids?
Look, when we were growing up, if you would refer back to the way that you were brought up yourself, you were brought up in a different time, in a different space, the different mechanisms that were in place at that time. And at that time, what we lacked the most is assurance and affirmation from our parents. And we live in times where the environment and the conditions are completely different for our children. More challenging for our children, more hectic. Our children are going through a lot more than what we did. On a daily basis. In terms of influence, in terms of network. I always call this network.
It is a network.
Because there's always networks everywhere. Our children are picking up influence here, they're picking up influence there. So change to them, it's something that happens within a split second. And it can either be positive or negative change. So what is critically important is for us to always give affirmation to our children, and they must not reassure them. And the danger in not doing that is that they will get affirmation elsewhere. And it might be affirmation that might destroy them
and be detrimental to their livelihood,
and be detrimental to their destiny, because whatever that influence that they begin to connect themselves to, that's the kind of influence that will control them.
I heard you say that, because you say if they don't get it from home or from the father, they will get it elsewhere, but it might drive them in a very, very different direction.
It might be.
And same with this father figure, because at the SABC, again, we touched on this question of a father figure. If the biological father is on the run, I always say that the mother or the child must find someone whom they trust, who can represent that father figure.
Absolutely.
Because the mom cannot play both roles successfully. Explain why that is important to have that father figure in your life if the biological father either has passed or is just on the run.
Look, there is one thing that I strongly believe in, and it's unfortunate. I'm going to say it,
No
you know,
problem.
I'm going to put it plainly on the table. It's unfortunate that in our ethnic group, we don't take this thing seriously, of giving an opportunity for our children to be coached, to be given guidance. Because at times it does not necessarily have to be a biological father if the biological father is not there. There can be an uncle who can assist, who can give. There can be a pastor, there can be a coach. So those people are readily available around us in our communities, in our families.
We don't leverage on them.
Exactly, we don't leverage on them. I've taken some time. I think I once shared this with you that I've taken some time. I've got Muslim friends, I've got Afrikaner friends, and I've taken time to ask them about. I actually did an observation and a study on what is it that they are doing every day to instill values and parent their kids. You'll get a shock of your life. There are some Afrikaner boys who are being mentored. The biological father is there, but because the uncle is more equipped, the parent will surrender the child and said, look, this is your uncle who will mentor you. And they've got mentors within family structures who mentor them in a particular direction that they want to take, or the parents would want to see them pursue.
I remember you told me that. Are there, I think as a black community, are there maybe beliefs, societal routines and cultural beliefs that have conditioned us to believe that man is just a father is just a provider and nothing else, that we should try and almost stop because we don't want our kid to go through what we went through. Are there things that we need to begin to challenge and ask, whether are religious or cultural, that we need to start questioning and challenging so that we create that bond and connection that's way better than our forefathers with our kids?
Look, what I always say to people is always challenge yourself. If you want to transform you and anybody around you, whether your children or your family, always challenge yourself. What circumstances wouldn't I want to see myself in? The circumstances that I'm in today, am I happy to be here? What is it that I need to change that governs me being here? It might not necessarily be religious principles or whatever. Sometimes it might be your own set of beliefs that you've inherited, your mindset that's keeping you here. That makes you think that, like we are talking about dads, it makes you feel that as a dad, there's certain things that are not for you to do. Meanwhile, they are actually for you to do. Without you implementing them and doing them, the family will go.
We just need to keep challenging ourselves.
Challenge ourselves and look at what set of minds, what set of belief and mindset is driving us, and begin to challenge those things, because that is what is driving our.
And we shouldn't be raising our kids the way we were raised.
But also at the same time, be privy to. I always say, be privy to adaptation as a parent.
And adjust. Be flexible.
Be flexible, because that's one of the things that. You see, the reason why most of our kids run away from us is because we are too stiff. It's a reality. I've come across many kids who say to me, "I've got a problem with my mom, my dad." I say, "What's the problem?"
What's the problem?
It's like they don't understand me, and I say, "What do you want them to understand about you?" And they will tell you they don't understand that I'm a technological person. I just love. You know, they don't understand.
They're trying to prevent.
And every time so by you not understanding the type of child you are raising, you might find yourself becoming a stumbling block.
And you're killing their spirit. Perhaps being tech savvy for them is livelihood for them. Maybe they can design programs and sell things online. There's a single lady, a single mom that said to me, 2 of my kids are self-sufficient because they're selling stuff online. How do you know? They buy stuff from China, they sell online, and then their pocket money comes from there. And imagine if that single mom prevented them from using online platform technology, and they would have killed their, she would have killed their dreams maybe. I want you to touch now on your movement around the boys' community. How are those programs or interventions molding a boy of the future that is resilient, that is strong, that understands himself, that is going to be a better citizen in the future? Let me just take us through the program, just at a highlight, and then later maybe we can share with our viewers how to find that information.
One of the biggest problems that I came across that actually prompted me to start doing programs like that is that every time that I would have a consultation with a boy child, I realized that what is more lacking in that child is emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
Because remember, emotional intelligence speaks to you who you are. It speaks to you how you understand yourself, how you can better manage yourself, and even use the emotions that are driving you positively to even affect and impact other people. And you look at all these boys that come through, you realize that they have never ever gotten an opportunity to get grooming of their own emotional. They don't know themselves. They don't understand themselves. They don't understand what they like, what they want to do. They're vulnerable. So that's why you find most of the time a boy child will try 15 things before they actually get to one thing that they want to do.
Because they're trying different things and exploring.
Because they don't understand themselves. So they're trying to find themselves, and they waste so much resources. And at times, many of them, they rebel because they are frustrated by trying so many things and not finding what they want. So you'd find a boy child becoming difficult, becoming stubborn, even the attitude changing because of those things. So our program is built around that to ensure that we help them to identify with who they are.
That's a first step. That's a big step.
To identify just who am I, what do I like, how the emotions that drive me, what drives me, what kind of perceptions, what kind of outlook of life do I have, do I carry, what do I think when I think about life, what does life mean to me. So we look at that and we start helping them to develop the proper mindset, and we start helping them to teach them how then once you have the proper mindset, how do you make the right choices? The importance of choices. It's all about choices. It's all about choices, the importance of choices. From choices, decisions, what goes into taking decisions, because we move to responsibility. What is a responsibility? It is your responsibility.
And I can imagine, Thuto, you also get instances where boys come to you and say, you know, my family is not giving me support to follow my dreams, and I want to try this and that. And again, if the parents don't understand the boy, even if he understands himself, I can imagine it becomes very difficult to support them in the right direction.
You won't. Because this is what I always say. I always say when we speak about emotional intelligence, as a parent, each and every parent has got a direction that which they wish their children to take. Every parent's got a direction. There's a specific direction that you have in mind. I wish my child would take this direction. But now, if a parent in this instance is not there, and that wish of a parent is not there, the question then remains...
It's almost like a blessing. Where do blessings come from if that wish isn't there?
It's not there. So now the question then remains, if those things are not there, then which direction should a child take?
I want to come to the second last topic that I want us to cover around what prevents men to come up and share their stories, especially stories of vulnerability, particularly around parenting and access. Most single dads that come to our network do not live with their kids. Their kids are either with their grandmoms or with the mother. And they are saying, I don't have income, or we don't agree on maintenance, and access to my kids has been blocked, either by grandparents of the mother's side or by the mother. What message would you say to them? Because most of them are really depleted. They've given up, and they're basically saying, well, I'm going to carry on with my life because I keep knocking on this door. There is no walkthrough. What message would you give? I mean, a message of hopefully encouraging them to keep going.
My message to them would be, your child, this is what the Bible says. The Bible says your child is like an arrow in his father's quiver.
His father, it's almost an extension.
It's an extension. So you don't stop fighting for it.
You
can't. So my advice and my message to them would be, keep pressing on that door. Everything
until something happens.
Press on that door at an appointed time, at a divine time. Something will happen. We might not know when that would be, but here's the thing: if you stop knocking at the door, you will never know what would have been and what kind of a perception your child would have the day that door would open.
You never know.
If you
Perhaps you give up at the very opportune stage
and at a time when they need you, at the time when even your child, because remember, this is how it is. It's them on this side of the door knocking the child on the other side. Your child is on the other side. You're knocking so that the door can open, you can have your child. So let's be careful that we don't give in.
Because you never know that breakthrough. You never know that
breakthrough. And we never know what is going on with your child on the other side.
Yeah. Because legally, and I talk about this on our show and on our network, that sometimes, you know, the resorting to courts should be the last avenue.
Absolutely.
Resorting to legal system should be the last thing. Find someone, even if through the family there isn't a breakthrough, find someone in your ecosystem to help you, because, I mean, networks like ours.
Exactly.
Because then we can help you navigate this territory. What would you say to single moms that have given up giving access to the father? They've given up reaching out to the father because he's on the run, he's not reachable, he's hot and cold, he's unreliable, he checks on the child when he feels like. Because most single moms that come to our show also say, listen, I've done my part. I don't know what to do now. I'll fold my arms, I want to protect my child. When he wants to come, he comes. Is there a way to encourage them to continue also reaching out?
One of the ways that I would say would encourage them to continue reaching out is, I would say they would rather focus more of their time and their energy and their resources in building up their children. Because specifically this point you're talking about, many of them, this happens when the children, we are speaking about grooming a child from the ages of 3 all the way to 15. You'd find that is the most critical time of grooming and parenting.
Critical time.
And at that time, that's when we are sending each other to courts. And the parenting gets deactivated. By the time
and to come back from that,
it's a mountain. So my advice would be, try to understand that there are certain things in life you cannot change. You can't change a person. If a person is running,
the other person's behavior you're not
in control of. So the best thing I would advise them to do, let's rather invest more of our time and our resources on building our children. If they decide at some point in their life they want to be part of the children's life, they will come. But this is the nice thing, they will find the child properly groomed. Rather than you focusing on getting him to come on board. Because while you are busy pursuing him, the time that you are wasting and that you are using, the child is losing that time from grooming. And
to try and repair that is a long journey. I was talking to you off air and off camera and about tomorrow being a Father's Day, and so many children, kids particularly, are not going to be able to celebrate with their fathers because either they're not in their lives or they don't know where they are or they're not going to be present with them. What message would you say to those young people, young and old actually, that are basically saying, I have been trying to find out where my father is through my mom, through my relatives, and I can't succeed. What message would you give them as we celebrate Father's Day?
My message to them would be, in all the ordeals they are facing trying to find their biological fathers, they must find solace in but this one thing, that they also in the near future shall become fathers. Let them heal in their hearts for whatever the pain and the scars they may be having now. Secondly, embrace the fact that they are boys who have an opportunity that tomorrow they can do better and differently from what their fathers have done. Because
that's the healing. And also forgiveness. And I was saying this at the SABC as well. Forgiveness starts with saying, yes, I have not met my dad, or my dad has not treated me well. I forgive him. I'm going to do my best to find a way to flourish as a human being and be a better citizen in society. But again, especially between 3 and 15 years of age, they must find that father figure. Somehow they must in their ecosystem, they must find that father figure.
And I think absolutely you're correct. But I think let's probably throw it to the mothers who are still there with them.
As well.
Let's ask the mothers to look at this option that we're bringing to the table. If there's an uncle who can assist, let's connect. If you've got a boy child, let's connect them. Uncle, help me. Even though it may not be an everyday thing. But just have an open door.
Because you can't play both those roles perfectly. It's not naturally possible. We try to to play both roles, but it's not, just like me, you know, mother of my kids died 2006, many years ago.
Yeah.
I have used my own family, my own sisters and aunts
Absolutely.
to play mother role to those kids because I can't do it. I focus on my side. Lastly, what did you say to those mothers that are saying, I'm doing just fine. I'm doing fine financially. I'm doing fine to provide the resources, care to these kids. I don't need a father figure because the father is gone. I'm going to be okay. What new information can you share?
That's a very dangerous angle to take. I'd be very honest with you. I had one case similar to that.
Okay.
The boy says when he was around 7, 8,
yes,
he remembered that the dad used to call him. He had a phone. The dad used to call him. But because there was a tussle between the mother and the dad, so the mother, every time, she's financially stable.
Wow.
Every time she would hear that the boy is talking to the father, she would take the phone away. Now the boy is 17 now. He's bitter. He's angry. He swears at the mother.
Sure.
At some point, he even raised apparently he threw a spanner from the garage
Serious?
at the mother. That's the kind of anger the boy was carrying. So when I sat with the boy and I said, where does this anger come from? He says, my anger comes from the fact that my mother, I'm now 17, and I can vividly remember that when I was still young, I used to hear her say this on the phone to my dad, that I don't need you.
Wow.
I don't need you. So here's my thing. It's not about you as a mother. It's not only you that the boy child needs. They also need their dad. So you might have differences with the dad, but don't close the gate for the boy not to access the father simply because you are saying
just because
you don't need anything from him.
Because their parental role is still required.
It's still required.
Whether you guys are in good terms, whether you guys are in an emotional relationship or not, but that child needs that parental role, and you cannot replace it with money, with gadgets, or with anything else. And actually, you can't abdicate it to someone else or grandparents. As we close, I'd like you to say a message for Father's Day to our Single Dads Network, to other fathers out there, and look at the camera and maybe send a message of hope and wish them well, obviously. And because tomorrow is a big day. I'm hoping someone listening is going to begin to say, I'm making a pledge, I'm making a commitment. This Father's Day of 2024, I'm going to commit to make a change. I'm going to build a new relationship with my kids or with my family, but it starts with me. Yes, go ahead.
So my message to every dad out there would be to say, we are proud of you, irrespective of the circumstances and the challenges that you may be facing in your parenting, in your relationship with your child. The message is this: we know that you are capable of standing for your children. Stand for your children, support your children, love your children, live and die for your children. Fight with all you have for your children. It might not be easy now, it might not be easy later, but fighting always gives you that hope and courage, knowing that you are doing something purposeful with your life for the sake of your children. A very blessed Father's Day to you. And we pray that God will help you to gain more strength and more courage to continue parenting and grooming them so that they can become better people tomorrow.
That was sweet. Thank you so much, my brother. From our side, again, happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. Please be resilient. Look out for more publications from our side as we share dad stories, because we are all about building those bonds and breaking stereotypes. Tune in again as we continue on the next season to explore stories from fathers. Thuto, this was wonderful. Thanks,
Thank you so much.
brother.
Thank you for having me. Thanks.